Okay. So before going to the next topic, we'll do a quick revision of the things what we have discussed in the earlier class. Well, we have understood about investment. What is the purpose of investment? Then the difference between investment and speculation. Then we even understood investment and gambling. So investment, an activity that commits funds in any financial or physical form in the present with an expectation of receiving additional return in the future. Now you all understood the meaning of speculation also. But in spite of that, I'll do a quick revision of those things. So for the students who are attending from today, so we have already discussed about the meaning of investment. Then now we'll understand the difference between the investor and speculator. Already this has been completed. So investor, as I mentioned to all of you, investor plans for a longer time horizon. If you ask me what exactly is that, it will be more than, greater than 1 year is called long term. Less than 1 year is a short term investment. Whereas ideally speaking, if you want better returns, so it should be, especially in equity market, it should be more than 10 years. Then speculator, as the name only suggests, he speculates with the price. So the time duration is very short. Then risk is concerned, investor assumes moderate risk, whereas speculator willing to undertake high risk. Why high risk? Because he speculates with the prices. He thinks only from the short-term point of view. Okay. Return is concerned, he likes to have moderate rate of return associated with limited risk, whereas speculator is concerned, like to have high returns for assuming high risk. Then decision. When it comes to investor, he considers fundamental factors. As I mentioned to you, when it comes to equity market, we have fundamental analysis and technical analysis, which we will be studying in depth in unit 4. So a fundamental factor, always an investor considers the fundamental factors. Now, when I say fundamental factors, before investing, an investor will study thoroughly about the economy of a nation, EIC framework. Please remember, EIC framework, economy of a nation, industry, and then company. He will do a proper analysis of EIC. Then when it comes to company, he will study the 11 years balance sheet of the company. Whether year on year there is some profit, or whether year on year there is some revenue which is incremental. Then he will even understand who are the board of directors, who is the chairman, what is his background. So everything he'll study. That is investor. Whereas a speculator, he only considers inside information, or majorly he goes for technical analysis. Please understand this, students. An investor will be for long term, so he will consider the fundamental analysis, whereas a speculator considers technical analysis. Now, when it comes to funds, investor, he uses his own funds and he will avoid the borrowed funds. Whereas speculator, he uses borrowed funds more to supplement his personal resources. So these things already we have discussed in the earlier class. I'm doing a quick revision of this. Yeah, then the investment process. This is a very important question, students. Explain the investment process. So wherein we have investment policy. See, before any investor approaches you or any advisor or any individual financial advisor, so first we have to understand what are his objectives. So we have to consider his age, we have to consider his family members, we have to consider his income. Based on that, we have to design the investments, right? So before any individual comes, we have to just get the information from him, telling that what could be his monthly saving, what could be his monthly expenditure. Then based on that, we can start his investment. So considering that, the first step is investment policy, where is investable fund, the objectives of that, and knowledge. Then we have to do a thorough analysis of market, industry, and company. Just now I mentioned you that is called as EIC framework. Then we have valuation, intrinsic value, also called as the face value of a company. Then we have future value. That means today, if I invest in a particular company, next 10 years is concerned, what should be my expected returns? Very simple, students. This entire subject, investment management, we speak more in terms of risk and returns. Okay. Then portfolio construction. So after all these steps, we will go for portfolio construction. That is diversification. Then after that, selection and allocation. Before coming to portfolio construction, first we have to understand how much you are ready to take the risk and return. Okay. Then only we can construct the portfolio depending on the risk and the return expectation from an individual. Then we'll go for portfolio evaluation. So what is this portfolio evaluation? When once the portfolio is constructed, you cannot leave that particular portfolio for next 5 years or next 10 years like that. So every month or every quarter, you have to review the portfolio, whether it is doing good or whether it is not doing good. If it is doing good, you can add more number of shares of that particular company. If it is not doing good, you can sell and purchase the company which is actually doing good. That is called as appraisal and revision when it comes to portfolio evaluation. Even these things we have studied in the earlier class. Then importance of investment, as you all know, to earn interest, to beat the inflation, longer life expectancy, to save the tax, future need expectation, and income generation. See, this COVID was concerned. This is a very good example for all of us. So people who were spending lavishly, people who are never bothered about their future, for them, COVID taught a very good lesson, because entire economy was crunched. Entire economy. People never thought that a day might come like this, wherein for every rupee, it was so much they were struggling for that, right? So this kind of situation can come even in the future also. So for that, whatever we are saving or whatever we are earning today, we have to save it in such a way that situation like COVID or any other situation in the future, even if it comes, we should be in a position to manage our family in a very comfortable way. Okay. Few more are there. Wait one. Okay, next we will study in detail about the security and marketable financial assets. Sabia Kittur, you should be on time, ma. Okay, till here everyone has understood. Now shall we, I go to the security or marketable financial assets. So first one is equity shares. So equity capital represents the ownership capital. Equity shareholders collectively own the company. They bear the risk and enjoy the rewards of ownership. Then we have preference shares. A preference share is one which satisfies the following. They have a preferential right, please understand, preferential right to be paid dividend during the lifetime of the company. They have a preferential right to the return of capital when the company goes into liquidation. Then currently preference dividend is tax exempt up to a certain limit. Then we have debentures. A company may raise long-term finance through public borrowings. These loans are raised by the issue of debentures. A debenture is a document under the company's seal which provides for the payment of principal sum and interest thereon at regular intervals, which is usually secured by fixed or floating charge on the company's property or undertaking and which acknowledges a loan to the company. Then bond. I'll be asking all of you in the middle also, so please be attentive, students. Now, what I'm explaining now, I'm explaining the security or marketable financial assets. Now we'll go for the fourth one, that is called as bond. A bond or a fixed income instrument is a contract that requires the borrower to pay the interest income to the lender. It resembles the promissory note issued by the government and corporate. The par value of the bond indicates the face value of the bond, that is, the value stated on the bond paper. So generally speaking, students, the face value of the bonds are, in terms of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 and alike. And most of the bonds make fixed interest payment till the maturity period. Now, one question I'll throw to all of you. Students, please understand, when it comes to bond, most of the bonds make fixed payment interest till the maturity period. This specific rate of interest is known as what? When it comes to bond, the specific rate of interest is paid. And what do you call that as when it comes to bond? Anyone? Even if it is wrong, no problem, please interact. When it comes to bond, I'm repeating, they pay a specific rate of interest, which is called as what?
So dividend.
No, you are almost near, but no, it is not dividend. Dividend is when the company pays profit to all its shareholders.
Okay, sir.
Very good, you have tried. Yeah, next, anyone? When it comes to bond, they pay interest. Interest will be either semi-annually, quarterly, or yearly. So what do you call that interest as when it comes to bond? You all know that. It starts from the letter C.
The commission?
No. Commission is when a broker, a intermediary, when he is getting payment from the investor, that is called as commission for selling equity, derivatives, mutual funds, IPOs, commodities, and insurance. But my question to all of you is, when it comes to bond, the specific rate of interest which will be given to all the bond holders, it is called as, it starts from C.
Sir, compensation?
No.
So
Okay.
credit interest,
Huh? Come again?
credit. No, sir. Sorry, sir.
No. Okay,
So
please
coupon-
understand. Very good. That's called as coupon rate. Who is this? May I know your name, ma? Okay, no problem. It's called as coupon rate. Please understand, students. Most of the bonds make fixed interest payment till the maturity period. The specific rate of interest when it comes to bond is called as coupon rate. All of you, coupon rate. Coupons are paid quarterly, they are paid semi-annually and annually. At the end of the maturity period, the value is repaid to the bond holder. Okay, that's very simple. Then we have convertible securities. A convertible security is one that may be exchanged for common stock by the holder, and in some cases, the issuer according to the agreed upon terms. For example, I'll explain you with example, students. Convertible bonds and convertible preferred stock. A specified number of shares of a particular stock are received by the holder of the convertible security when he or she makes the payment to the exchange. As the name only suggests, you can convert a security into a convertible bond and a convertible preferred stock. Then we have very important hybrid securities. Hybrid security, it can be defined as combined the face of equity and debt. So as the name only suggests, you can combine, or it is like a combination of equity as well as a debt. Please remember this, equity is concerned, it is for long term. Always remember. long term, wherein you will get a very decent returns and the risk is also, if you are speaking about long term, it is moderate. Debt is concerned, like you will be having a short term debt or a long term debt. Depending on your requirement, the return will be low, but the risk is also low compared to equity. Please understand this, okay? So hybrid security, what I told you just now, can be defined as a combined phase of equity and debt. This means that the characteristics, you can enjoy the characteristics of both equity and bond and can be found in hybrid security. Then we have very important derivatives. Derivatives are instrument whose value is derived from one or more underlying financial asset. Hence, the term derivative came into existence. So derivatives, I'll say, like it is derived from the cash market. It is derived from the equity market. The underlying instrument could be a financial security, a securities index, or some combination of securities. Derivatives are financial instruments that have no intrinsic value. They hedge the risk of owning things that are subjected to unexpected price fluctuations. So can anyone tell me the example of derivatives? Sir, these are the examples of derivatives. Okay, let me ask you, commodity. Is it a derivative? Commodity exchange. We have multi-commodity MCX. Is it a derivative? Can I take my position in gold, silver, aluminium, jeera, wheat in the derivative market, in the commodity market? Can I buy gold electronically?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I, others derivatives are concerned, when I'm speaking about gold, aluminium, copper, nickel, the precious metals, then agri products like, wheat, coffee, robusta, potato, can I purchase them electronically when I enter into multi-commodity exchange or national commodity derivative exchange? It's just now
Yes,
one
sir.
student told yes, sir. Others,
Yes,
can I do
sir.
that? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
So yes, we can do that, right? So those are derivatives. So what do you understand by derivatives? Derivatives are instruments
Sir.
whose value is
sir.
derived from one or more underlying financial asset. Yeah, someone is asking a question.
Yes, sir. Underlined value means the which products are deriving from the another product, right? sir?
Yes.
The like examples.
Means
Okay. For example, beautiful. So now we have in the cash market, when it comes to equity, very simple example I'll give you. When it comes to equity market, we have certain shares which are listed in the secondary market, correct? So like Infosys, Wipro, TCS, then Sasken, these are the companies which are listed in the secondary market, also called as equity market. So that is called as cash market. So what is cash market? You pay a certain amount to a broker and purchase the shares of that particular company. So this is called as cash market. So you can do either on an intraday basis. Please understand the term, students. Either you can purchase these shares on an intraday basis, that is buy today, sell today, or buy today, sell tomorrow, or you can do a delivery buying. So just now when I told the meaning of investment, it is for long-term period, right? So there you have to tell the broker, or you yourself can do a delivery buying. So when I say delivery buying, suppose you are confident that Infosys will be doing good for the next 10 years because their balance sheet is good, their order book is good, and the management is good. They have good projects for the next 10 years. So probably their price might go up in the next 10 years, right? So what will you do? You keep on accumulating the shares of Infosys, which will be pooled in your demat account. That is called as delivery buying, which you will be doing in the cash market. Please understand. There are two things what you can do, intraday and delivery.
delivery. Yes, sir.
Correct, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Now, the Infosys, it is also present in the derivative market. Okay, so derivative market. So normally these derivatives are financial instruments that do not have intrinsic value, whereas Infosys has got a face value. So someone wants to buy Infosys today. What is the current market price of Infosys? Infosys share price today. Now, as on now, it is trading at 917 rupee. Correct, students? 917 rupee. If if you check your mobile, the current market price of Infosys is 917 rupee. That means to purchase one share of Infosys, I need to pay 917 rupee. Correct, no, all of you? But
Yes, sir.
so why I will purchase in the cash market thinking that the price will go up. Suppose I purchase 100 shares of Infosys, and if the price goes to 920 rupee, so 4 rupee is my net profit. So 4 multiplied by 100, that is equal to 400 rupee is my intraday profit. Correct? Now, after 10 years, if the same Infosys will go to say 3,000 rupee, 4,000 rupee, 5,000 rupee, whatever price it has gone up, multiplied by how many shares you are holding, that is the net profit for you. That is called as delivery selling, long-term profit what you are making. Say, for example, if someone had purchased Infosys in 1993, as on today, it is more than 9 crore. 9 crore. And someone had purchased MRF when it was at a time of IPO, they gave it 10 rupee per share. And today, if I see the MRF market price, you will be astonished. I think I'm just, okay, MRF market price as on now is 58,251 MRF. One share is 58,251 students. That means if someone had purchased at 10 rupee during IPO of MRF, just imagine the profit. So this is just capital appreciation, what I'm explaining you, per share. Plus, as and when the company make profit, they'll be giving you dividends. Plus, they'll be doing bonus on that. They'll be giving bonus to that. Plus, share split hota hai. So there are a lot of benefits. So these all things are cash market. Delivery buying as well as intraday. Till here, everyone has understood. Then I go to derivative market. Till here, cash market, everyone has understood. Any doubt, you can ask me freely, please.
Yes,
Till here,
understood.
everyone has understood.
Sir,
Yes.
I got confused. Can you repeat once again?
Okay, fantastic. Who is this?
So, Vani.
Okay. See, in equity shares, when I say cash market operation, you can do intraday, that is buy today, sell today, or buy today, sell tomorrow. Or you can even do delivery buying. The other students you can just note down because these terms are very important when it comes to when we are solving problems. Okay. So what is intraday? I purchased Infosys at 917 rupee 0.60, which is the current market price. 917.60. Then what I do, I sell it when it goes up at 920 today itself. So 3 rupee is my net profit multiplied by the total quantity whatever I have purchased. This is called intraday. I book my profit on a daily basis. Got it, Vani? I purchase it today, I sell it today. I purchase it today, I sell it today. So what I will get? I get the profit on a daily basis. That is called as intraday profit, short-term profits. Who will do short-term profits? Remember, students, speculator will do short-term profits. We have studied, no? Speculator, he is only for short-term. So what he'll do? He'll purchase a share, and the moment it goes up by 2 or 3 rupee or 5 rupee, he will sell it and book his profit. That is called as short-term. That is intraday. Please understand. Now, sir, you even told about investor, sir, he is for long-term. Yes. Now, if someone is interested in a script Infosys for long-term period, say for 5 years and above, he will purchase today and sell after 5 years. So 917 is the current market price. He will purchase today. He will pay that much amount to the broker. So if he wants to purchase 100 shares, Vani, you only tell me, if I want to purchase 100 shares of Infosys at 917 rupee, how much amount I need to pay to the broker? If I want to purchase 100 shares of Infosys at 917 rupee, how much amount should be there in my demat account? Vani? Okay, I'll not ask you. Anybody? If I want to purchase 100 shares of Infosys at 917 rupee,
91,700.
very good. 91,700. How I calculated? 917 multiplied by 100 shares. Correct. So that much amount should be there in my demat account. Then only I can purchase 100 shares of Infosys on a delivery buying. So my total investment is how much? 91,700. Now, after say 1 year or 2 years, if the Infosys goes to 1,500, at what price I have purchased? 917. So 583 rupee I am getting profit per share. So for 100, how much? 583 multiplied by 100. 58,300 is my delivery profit. Correct, all of you? We call it as MTM, that is mark to market. So today I am purchasing. The shares will come to my demat account. After 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, if the share price goes to 1,500, then the net profit per share is 583 rupee. How much quantity I am having in my demat account? 100. So 100 multiplied by 583, which is 58,300 is my net profit. That is called as delivery profit. Correct? I am doing a delivery selling. So that is what I am explaining you. In equity market, in cash market, I can either do a delivery buying and a delivery selling, or I can do a intraday buying and intraday selling. That is buying and selling on the same day. Till here, everyone has understood? Any doubt here till here? Please ask me. If some doubt is there, let others also understand. Vani, did you understand, ma?
Yes, sir.
The concepts are clear now?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Any other student? Any doubt? Please be open. Please ask me. Okay. Now,
Hello, sir.
Someone has got a doubt? Yeah.
Sir, intraday and delivery, these are charges different, sir, same.
Yeah. The charge for the broker, that differs. That differs. For intraday, some broker will charge 5 paise on the transaction, total transaction, 5 paise, 4 paise, 3 paise. Normally for intraday, it will be less. But when you want a delivery buying, it is 50 paise, 45 paise. So the charges are different for intraday as well as delivery. In some of the broking firms, it is zero also for intraday. They do not charge anything for intraday. Or brokers like Zerodha, they take 20 rupee per transaction. Okay? But normally for intraday, the brokerage will be less compared to the delivery. Please understand this. Good, very good question. You are understanding. Some of you are asking the queries. So shall I go to the next part now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this derivatives, Infosys derivatives are concerned. We have, I'll not explain you in depth because that itself is a subject. Now we'll focus only the things what we have now. Derivatives are concerned. All of you know it is derived from the cash market. So if someone asks me, sir, please explain me what is this derivatives and all. Just I'll give a basic idea. Then I'll go to the next particular topic. So Infosys, all of you saw in the cash market, the current market price is 917. Correct. That means to purchase 1 share of Infosys, I need to pay 917 rupee. So in the derivative market, we have futures and options. That is called as F&O. We have index futures, we have stock futures, we have gold futures, we have silver futures in the commodity market. But now today I'll be explaining you only about the stock market F&O. And we even have about the currency, that is Forex market. That is foreign exchange market also. But for your understanding today, in the derivative market, I'll explain only about Infi futures, that is Infosys futures. So if you see the underlying stock, what is the underlying stock when it comes to Infosys futures? It is Infosys only. Underlying is Infi. Okay, so normally when you see stock futures, there will be expiry date for that. That is 24th September, 29th October, and 26th November. Normally, every month, last Thursday will be expiry in the derivatives. Okay, that is especially futures. If you can see Infosys futures in the derivative market, 917 is the current market price. Whereas here in that is 24th September price, the last traded price is 917.65. Whereas 29th October, it is 914, which is lesser. And 26th November, it is 916.05. That means as the demand increases for a particular share, so people start entering into derivative market. Majorly derivatives are used as a hedging tool. In basic, I'll explain you all of you. Suppose someone has got 100 shares in the cash market. Please understand, this is a very technical thing. Suppose someone has purchased 100 shares of Infosys thinking that the price will go up. What if the price comes down, students? He'll be incurring loss, correct? 917, I will purchase 100 shares of Infosys thinking that the price will go up. But if the price comes to 910, there will be a 7 rupee loss in one share, right? So 7 multiplied by 100, that is 700 rupee loss. So what I do in order to avoid the loss, I will enter into derivative market. I will hedge my position. I am using the word called as hedge.
So what is
Derivatives, normally I enter into derivative market. I take, please understand this. I take an exactly opposite position what I have taken in the cash market. Suppose if I have bought the shares in the cash market, in order to hedge my position, I will be entering into a put option, or I'll be selling the shares in the derivative market. So what happens, even if the price comes down in the cash market, I have purchased at 917 rupee, it comes to 900 rupee. Then 17 rupee is the net loss per share multiplied by 100, which is equal to 1700 is the net loss per share. In order to avoid that, what I do at 917 in the cash market, I will purchase 100 shares. And 917 in the derivative market, I take a put option. I sell the shares. Please understand. When the share price comes to 900 rupee, in the cash market, it will be showing to me a loss of 1700 rupee. That is 17 rupee multiplied by 100. Whereas in the derivative market, I'll be in a profit of 1700 rupee.
Yes.
So plus 1700 minus 1700. What is my net profit and loss over there? Zero.
Yes.
Correct, students? If I would have not entered into derivative market, then I would have incurred a loss of 1700. But to avoid that loss, what I did, I entered into derivative market. So this process is called as hedging. Please remember this. This process is called as hedging. So hedging is a financial strategy which minimizes the loss. Here you are not making any profit in hedging, but I am just minimizing the loss. So whatever position I have taken in the cash market, I will be taking an exactly opposite position in the derivative market. So if the share price goes up, then what happens? If the share price goes up in the cash market, I'll be in profit, whereas in the derivative market, I'll be in loss. So making my MTM as zero, or no profit, no gain. Normally, students, for retail investors or people like you and me, so for us it is not required. I mean, derivative market hedging and all, it is not required. But for whom it is required? For the people, high net worth individuals, or for the people who take large positions in the market, or for people who are involved in forex market, or people who are involved in gold market, physical gold. For them, in order to avoid the loss, they'll be entering into derivative market and they'll be taking their positions over there majorly to minimize the loss. So what we understood today, derivatives are derived from the cash market. Derivatives are used as a hedging tool. Hedging majorly reduces the loss. So that situation is called as no profit, no loss. Till here, everyone has understood. 52 students are there. Everyone has understood.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So can I go to the next part now? These are very theoretical students. You should be knowing all this. So again, I'm telling you, fine, for the students who are not understood, in cash market, I can purchase, please understand this, 2 minutes, you understand this, I'll go to the next part. In cash market, I can do intraday, as well as delivery buying and delivery selling. Intraday, what do you call that guy as? He is a speculator. He buys today, he purchases today, and if the price goes up, he sells today and books his profit and come out of that. Whereas, if someone wants to invest and stay in the market for 5 years or more than that, then you call him as an investor. So that is called as delivery buying. Please understand this, okay? I'll go to the next part now. I hope all of you have understood the concepts.
Sir.
Yeah, who is this?
Omkar, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
So those 4 points, swaps and forwards are not for our syllabus.
Swaps, forwards, I'll be explaining you when we encounter that. Probably in the next couple of other modules, I'll be explaining that. We have futures, forwards, swaps, interest rate. When it comes to interest rate, we call it as plain vanilla swapping. But when we encounter those concepts, I'll be explaining you that.
Okay, sir.
Okay? Because see, if I tell you everything in the same thing, then many will leave the class today. Sir, we are not understanding. So we'll go basic, very basic. So when you are well versed with all these concepts, then I'll keep on taking you to the next level. Okay? Yeah, perfect. Srinidhi Nayak. Yes, please tell ma.
So I have a question. So
Please
you
ask.
think that Happiest Minds IPO na?
Come again. What?
Happiest Minds IPO, the photo.
Yes.
So
No,
how do people invest in IPOs?
Okay. Initial public offering. See, whenever the company, when the company announces that we are coming up with the initial public offering, that I'm explaining this concept to everyone. It is there in your syllabus. Please understand this. IPO, for the first time, whenever the company is coming to the market, it will raise funds from the public. That market is called as initial public offering, also called as IPO. Okay?
Yes,
so what
sir.
happens in IPO process is, the company will fix a price band, and the people who are interested to invest in that particular company can invest through a IPO process. If you have your Demat account with any of the broking firm, so directly you can click there, invest in IPO. They will say minimum you have to invest 100 shares of that particular company. So the price band will be 600 to 650 rupee.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you will do at 650, if you want to purchase 100, then that much amount should be there in your Demat account. Automatically when you click invest in an IPO, whenever the window, today in fact the window is opened.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can directly invest in that particular company, and that market is called as primary market. And once the IPO closes, the shares will be listed in the secondary market, wherein it is allowed for everyone to buy and sell.
Yes.
Now, if you ask me, Srinidhi, sir, what is the advantage of investing in IPO, sir? When the shares are listed in the secondary market, then only I'll invest. So what happens, Srinidhi? During IPO, the price will be 650 per share. But when the first day when it listed in the secondary market, the price can go up to 1,000 to 1,500 depending on the demand for a particular script. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So you will be the first person to already have the shares during the IPO. If you ask me, sir, the price can come down also. Yes, it can come down. It depends on the demand and supply for a particular company.
Yes, sir.
Now, today the IPO is there. Let me explain you more about that IPO. Anyone has invested in that IPO?
No, sir. That is why I was asking.
Okay, but now you came to know, right?
Yes, sir.
So planning to invest? Please tell us also. Let me tell you about IPO, that is Happiest Minds. Happiest Minds, that is today's IPO. They are planning for 700 crore IPO opens on September 7th. That is today. They are
Yes,
planning
sir.
to raise 700 crore through initial public offering to rise up to 700 crore. That is, it will open on September 7th. The price band, they have given the price band also. The price band of the issue has been fixed at rupees 165 to 166 per share.
Yes, sir.
Clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
So more about Happiest. Someone who wants to invest at the price band is 165 to 166. You can invest through IPO. The stock commands a price per earning value of 26.6 times for the financial year 20. Oh my God! Probably the day it's listed, it might take a good turn. Okay. Now, what people say about this company? The gray market premium on the issue has risen by 115 to 125. A share over the IPO price band of rupees 165 to 166. So directly, what you have to do when you want to invest through IPO process, that is through primary market, you need to have your demat account. And then directly from your demat account, that much amount should be there in your demat account, and you have to just click purchase. So it will direct you to your bank account, and that much amount will be debited from your bank account and credited to your broker. And students, I'll be explaining you one more process that is called as ASBA process when I go to IPO. Now till here, I think everyone has understood. I'll go to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
Good. You people are asking questions means you are understanding a bit. Okay. Now, non-security or non-marketable financial assets. All of you know, your dad or your mom or your parents, your family members might have kept fixed deposits or term deposits in the banks. These are one of the safest form of investments. Fixed deposits. All of you know about this. All banks offer fixed deposit schemes with a wide range of tenures from period 7 days to 10 years. The term fixed deposit or term deposit denotes the period of maturity or tenure. Therefore, the depositors are supposed to continue such fixed deposit for the length of time for which the depositor decides to keep the money with the bank. So students, you only tell me, these non-security or non-marketable financial assets, are they risky? Are they risky? Let me ask anyone here. Anusha Onkari?
Yes, sir.
Bank fixed deposits are risky, ma? According to you?
No, sir. No, sir.
No. Okay. Someone who tells that, sir, it is risky, sir. Who? Anybody? Compared
Yes,
to
sir.
equity market, huh?
Yeah.
Compared to equity market, I'm asking you.
Yes, sir. It is sometimes risky.
Pritam. Yeah,
It
why
is
it is risky, Pritam?
If the banks are got a fraud, then it is risky, sir.
Yeah, which case you are speaking? Any particular case? Recently it happened, no?
Satyam sir,
Sir,
Maitas.
Sangoli Rayana.
Okay.
Sir, it happens, sir. It's our side now. Nippani, it's the bank called Sangoli Rayana, sir.
See one thing, students. When compared to equity market, let me clarify to all of you. Very good, Pritam. When compared to equity market, the fixed deposits or term deposits they have a less risk. So as you mentioned, some of the bank names, they're all cooperative societies, cooperative banks. So always you should keep your term deposits. You have to guide your parents or guide your elders that before investing or before keeping a fixed deposit, always you should keep in a bank which directly comes under Reserve Bank of India. Because RBI is the banker's bank. RBI is the regulatory body of all the banks. Correct? But in spite of that, we are seeing in all the news channel today, the scam of PMC. Correct? PMC bank scam. All of you might have seen. Crores together, whatever the deposit was there. So it is not happening now. The Mumbai police, PMC in its ongoing probe into rupees 4,355 crore scam, taking the total number of arrested people, more than 12 today, as on today. So always keep your fixed deposits in a bank which comes under Reserve Bank of India. So what we understood now, when compared to equity market, you can keep your money in a bank which comes under RBI. Okay. Next, we have gilt-edged securities, the second type. Gilt-edged securities are high-grade bonds issued by some national governments or firm whose paper certificates had a gilt edge. Hence, they are known as gilt-edged securities or gilts for short. Next, some of your parents might have kept their deposits in post office schemes or deposits. So we have the investment avenues provided by the post offices are generally non-marketable. They're not exposed to any equity market, as they are savings media. The only exception is IVP, that is Indira Vikas Patra. In post office schemes also, you have savings deposits, fixed deposits, recurring deposits, also called as RDs, and fixed investment with monthly income, right? Then we have company provident fund or public provident fund. Both are different, but let me explain you first PPF, that is public provident fund. The public provident fund deposits can be made in monthly installments with a minimum of rupees 100 and a maximum of rupees 60,000 per annum. Now, these deposits carry cumulative interest rate of 7.9%, that is fully exempt from tax under Section 80C of the Income Tax Act. Okay, that is PPF, that is Public Provident Fund. Then we have even Company Provident Fund also, students. Provident Fund is a scheme by a government of India by which a fixed percentage is deducted from the salary and a fixed percentage is added by the company. See, these are got a lot of advantages. So if my salary is 10,000, say PF is say 2,000 in that, 2,000 component will be deducted from my salary and the same 2,000 will be given by the employer. So total 4,000 rupee will be invested. That is the advantage of this PF, Provident Fund. So what do they do? This sum is kept in an account which accumulates and is then received back after my retirement. It will be my corpus for the retirement. Provident Fund is essentially a retirement benefit scheme. Under this scheme, a specified amount is deducted from the salary of the employee as his contribution towards the fund. Please understand this. So 11 a.m. you have already got a session, so I'll take 1 or 2 minutes maximum. Then we have insurance, other deposits, then mutual funds. So these are what we are studying now. These are non-security or non-marketable financial assets. Now, what do you mean by a mutual fund? A mutual fund is a trust that pools the savings of large number of investors whose objective is common. Again, in mutual fund, if you ask me, there are a lot of other types of mutual funds which we'll be discussing in the next class. Okay. So today we have discussed about the various instruments available and their risk and return parameters also. So in the next class, I'll be going in detail related to, as she mentioned, different modes of raising funds from the public. So I'll be explaining you more about IPO process, then rights issue, okay? Then when the company will come up with the rights issue, then I'll be explaining you more about, the primary market and the secondary market operations, then stock market indicators. So thank you so much for your patience listening, students. Any other query if you have, you can ask me in the next class, okay? Because there is a special lecture arranged for you. I request all of you to join that lecture also, which Ravi sir has already shared the link. So have a great day, all of you. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. I hope all the concepts, whatever we discussed today, you have understood.
Yes, sir.